stop. Right now, pause everything. The world moves at a relentless pace, dragging your mind, your heart, and your spirit in every direction at once. I am Shi Hingye, and today I want to take you on a journey few ever notice, a journey into the power of stillness, the secret that Shaolin masters have practiced for centuries, hidden in plain sight. Most people believe action is strength, movement is progress, but the deepest power often hides in moments of quiet. There was a time when warriors would spend entire months in complete stillness, sitting in meditation, waiting for a single insight to strike. They knew that rushing only clouds judgment, weakens focus, and blinds you to the path meant only for you. Today, I will reveal why stopping is not surrender. It is the first step to mastering your life. By the end of this video, you will learn how to recognize the subtle signals the universe sends when it calls you to pause. You will discover how moments of deliberate stillness can sharpen your mind, awaken your intuition, and illuminate the choices that shape your destiny. I will share practices rooted in Shaolin teachings that transform ordinary pauses into powerful gateways to clarity and self-mastery. These are truths almost never spoken, hidden behind centuries of discipline and ritual. Stay with me until the end, because each insight builds on the last, guiding you from scattered thought to deliberate action, from distracted living to purposeful existence. This is your chance to awaken the strength that silence conceals, the guidance that only patience can reveal. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire, a place where ancient wisdom meets daily life. If you're ready to step into your power and reclaim control over your path, subscribe now and let's begin this journey together. Sometimes the quietest whispers carry the loudest truths. I have learned that life does not always announce its calls with grand gestures. Often, it speaks in small, almost imperceptible ways. A sudden pause in your day, a thought that lingers longer than usual, a feeling of unease that refuses to leave. These are the divine signals, subtle nudges guiding you towards something far greater than your current path. There was a disciple I once knew who spent years chasing recognition, wealth, and fleeting pleasures. One morning, he felt an unusual stillness during his routine meditation. It was barely noticeable, yet it stirred a deep questioning in his heart. At first, he ignored it, thinking it trivial, until the feeling grew persistent. He began to listen. He observed patterns in his life, choices that no longer served him, and doors that quietly closed without explanation. That stillness became his teacher, revealing the path he had been too busy to see. Mindfulness is the key to catching these signals before they fade into background noise. It trains you to watch your thoughts, your emotions, your body's subtle reactions, and the world around you. A fleeting glance at an opportunity, a moment of unexpected clarity, even a quiet pang of discomfort. They are all messages. They point to alignment, to the actions that honor your purpose. Ignoring these whispers does not stop them from existing. It creates friction, misalignment, and a sense that something essential is missing. The Shaolin way teaches that every small signal, every gentle pause in your life carries a lesson. The universe is constantly speaking. The question is whether you will learn to listen or continue walking, deaf to the hand reaching out to guide you. There is a mirror that reveals more than the face. It reflects the mind, the heart, and the patterns that shape a life. True observation begins not with others, but with oneself. In the quiet hours of the day, when the world's noise fades, the mind can finally be watched like a river flowing, thoughts rising and falling, emotions shifting like clouds, impulses surfacing and retreating. To see without judgment is not weakness, it is the first act of strength. Ancient Shaolin masters understood this deeply. Before a warrior could move with precision, before a monk could guide others, he had to know himself completely. He observed his anger, his pride, his fears, not to suppress them, but to understand their origin and how they shaped his actions. Awareness revealed patterns, habits that drained energy, reactions that repeated endlessly, desires that led nowhere. Once seen, these patterns could be transformed. There is a story of a young disciple who struggled with impatience. He would rush through his training, frustrated by minor failures, One day, his master instructed him to sit quietly and simply watch his breath, his thoughts, his impulses, without trying to change anything. Days passed, and he began to notice the root of his impatience, a fear of inadequacy, a longing for approval. With this knowledge, each movement, each step in training became intentional rather than reactive. He discovered that mastery did not come from forcing change, but from understanding the self deeply enough to guide it. Self-observation is the silent path to discipline. It transforms wandering attention into deliberate focus and chaotic energy into controlled action. Every moment spent observing builds the inner strength to act wisely rather than impulsively, to choose with awareness rather than habit. The mind, once understood, becomes a tool rather than a master, and the journey toward mastery begins not in external conquest, but in the profound clarity of self-knowledge. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many see it as restriction, as a chain that limits desire and joy. Yet, in the wisdom of the ancients, discipline is the doorway to freedom. It is the practice of aligning body, mind, and spirit so that each action flows from awareness rather than impulse. The Shaolin masters lived this truth daily. Their movements, their breathing, even their smallest gestures were guided by intention, not habit. There is a story of a young monk who struggled to maintain focus during meditation. Each day distractions pulled him away, thoughts of the past, worries of the future, the itch of impatience. His master told him simply, discipline is not about fighting the mind. It is about returning to the path again and again. So, the monk began small. A single breath observed fully, a single posture held with presence, a single thought acknowledged and released. Over weeks, these tiny acts accumulated. The restless mind gradually settled, clarity emerged, and a sense of calm authority replaced his former chaos. Discipline trains the mind to respond rather than react. It teaches patience, cultivates resilience, and transforms ordinary routines into sacred rituals. Every time the mind resists, every time the body wishes to quit, discipline is the gentle hand that redirects attention back to purpose. It is not punishment, it is the sculpting of the self. Small acts, repeated consistently, ripple outward. A morning ritual of mindful breathing, a deliberate walk, a single moment of stillness in the midst of busyness. These appear simple, almost invisible, yet they accumulate like hidden roots, strengthening a tree. Over time, these roots anchor the spirit, fortify the mind, and shape a life of conscious action. Through discipline, freedom is not taken, it is earned. Each moment becomes a choice, each choice a step toward mastery, and the path of self-mastery unfolds, quietly, steadily, powerfully. There is a part of every soul that hides in shadow, where fear, doubt, and anger quietly gather. Many spend a lifetime avoiding this darkness, believing strength comes from denial or escape. Yet true courage is not found in fleeing the shadow. It is born in the willingness to face it. The Shaolin masters taught that only by embracing every part of ourselves can we move toward real freedom. A disciple once struggled with jealousy, anger, that would flare in unexpected moments. He felt shame and tried to push it away, pretending the emotions did not exist. His master guided him to sit in stillness and simply watch these feelings, observing without judgment. At first, the emotions seemed to overwhelm him, but with patience, he noticed the patterns behind them, the unmet needs, the fears of inadequacy, the echoes of past wounds. By seeing these truths, he stopped being controlled by them. Mindfulness is the lantern that illuminates the shadow. It allows us to confront the ego, the insecurities, and the impulses that drive unconscious action. Rather than being consumed, we learn to sit with discomfort, to listen to what the darkness is trying to teach. Each confrontation becomes a practice, each moment of awareness a small victory. Transformation begins when the shadow is no longer denied. By embracing the whole self, the light and the dark, we gain clarity, balance, and authenticity. Inner mastery is born not from perfection, but from understanding, integrating, and guiding every part of who we are. The path is not always comfortable, yet it is through this journey that resilience is forged, wisdom deepens, and the soul steps into its full power. To face the shadow is to discover strength that no external challenge can ever match. Every moment holds a depth that most pass by unnoticed. To be fully present is to step into the richness of life itself, to meet each second with awareness and intention. Shaolin teachings call this the sacred art of presence, a practice that turns ordinary actions into expressions of the soul. It is not merely watching or listening, but fully engaging with the breath, the body, and the mind, so that nothing is wasted and every movement carries purpose. A story tells of a monk tasked with sweeping the temple courtyard. At first, it seemed a mundane chore, repetitive and unremarkable. But as he focused on each movement, each sweep of the broom, each falling leaf, the act became meditation. His awareness extended beyond the motion, reaching into the rhythm of the wind, the scent of the earth, the quiet beating of his own heart. In that simple act, presence transformed labor into a doorway to clarity and insight. Being present cultivates a deep inner mastery. When attention is anchored in the now, the mind stops chasing distractions or dwelling on regrets. Ordinary moments become lessons in patience, observation, and alignment. The clarity that emerges allows intuition to rise naturally, guiding decisions without struggle or force. Small nudges, subtle patterns, and inner guidance, these often invisible signals reveal themselves when the mind is not scattered. Presence is not passive, it is discipline in motion, a continual training of the senses, emotions, and awareness. It teaches that life's meaning is never ahead or behind, but in this very instant. By embracing each moment fully, the simplest gestures, walking, speaking, even breathing, become acts of alignment, connecting the practitioner to something greater. In this way, presence is both practice and path, a bridge between the ordinary and the sacred, and a source of strength that cannot be taken away. The mind, body, and spirit are like a finely tuned instrument, each vibration carrying power that can be wasted or harnessed. True mastery begins with learning how to conserve and direct this energy, understanding that every thought, word, and action consumes it. Shaolin teachings emphasize that strength is not measured by constant activity or outward display, but by the ability to remain balanced, calm, and purposeful amidst life's demands. A young disciple once trained tirelessly, pushing himself through long hours of physical and mental exercises. Yet, despite his efforts, he felt drained, unfocused, and restless. His master observed him and said, "You scatter yourself like wind across the mountains. Learn where your strength lies and let it flow with intention." The disciple was then introduced to practices of controlled breathing and meditation. At first, sitting quietly seemed unproductive, but gradually he discovered that these moments of stillness were gathering forces within him, like water pooling in a riverbed before it flows powerfully downstream. Distractions, both subtle and obvious, drain energy silently. Idle arguments, endless noise, anxious thoughts, and unnecessary obligations pull the mind away from its center. By recognizing what diminishes strength and choosing to withdraw from it, the practitioner preserves clarity and focus. Each act of restraint, each conscious breath, becomes a form of discipline, guiding energy toward meaningful action rather than chaotic reaction. Over time, energy management transforms life itself. The mind sharpens, emotions stabilize, and decisions arise from insight rather than impulse. Inner balance is not merely calm, it is readiness, a poised awareness that allows the practitioner to respond with precision, intention, and grace. Mastery is born in these subtle currents, in the careful tending of inner resources, and in the wisdom to know that strength flows most powerfully when it is preserved, directed, and aligned with purpose. Life often carries people forward like a river, pulling them into routines, habits, and patterns without pause. To live automatically is to surrender to circumstance, to let the currents of distraction and expectation dictate the shape of your days. Shaolin teachings call for a different approach, intentional action. Every step, every gesture, every choice made with awareness becomes an expression of inner wisdom. A young student once rushed through training. mimicking the movements of others without truly understanding them. Each motion was mechanical, lacking presence or purpose. One day, the master stopped him and said, "A river flowing blindly crashes against the rocks. Move as if each step carries the weight of your life." The student began to slow, observing his breath, feeling the connection between body and mind, and considering the meaning behind each movement. Gradually, what was once automatic became deliberate. His actions carried clarity, precision, and calm power. Intentional living requires discipline and awareness. It is the practice of noticing choices, observing impulses, and deciding which path serves purpose rather than habit. Even the smallest actions, how you speak, how you respond to conflict, how you approach your daily tasks, become reflections of self-mastery when performed with intention. This principle separates those who shape their destiny from those who drift through life unnoticed. The one who moves deliberately aligns with the flow of opportunity and insight, while the one who acts unconsciously is swept along, reacting rather than creating. Over time, deliberate action compounds, building character, focus, and presence. It turns ordinary moments into stepping stones of growth, wisdom, and alignment with a higher path. Life, when approached intentionally, transforms from a series of accidents into a living meditation, a conscious journey where every act carries meaning and purpose. True strength is silent. It does not seek recognition, praise, or reward. Shaolin teachings remind us that power, when rooted in ego, is fleeting and hollow. Real mastery is measured not by what one can take, but by what one gives, how one serves a purpose greater than self. Humility is the gateway to this understanding, opening the heart to wisdom and guidance that cannot be accessed through pride alone. A story tells of a seasoned monk, revered for his skill and knowledge, who encountered a young traveler lost in the mountains. Though he had pressing duties, the monk stopped, guided the traveler to safety, and returned quietly to his practice. He received no acclaim, yet in that simple act, his mastery was fully expressed. Service was not an obligation. It was the natural expression of a mind aligned with higher purpose. His humility allowed him to act freely, without attachment to outcome or recognition, and in that freedom, his influence extended far beyond what anyone could see. Service cultivates discipline and sharpens awareness. When actions are guided by purpose beyond self-interest, the mind becomes steady, the heart receptive, and the spirit attuned. Humility teaches patience, encourages listening, and dissolves the need to control or dominate. It allows insight to flow from experience, intuition, and the wisdom of those who have walked before. Mastery is not a display of power, but a life lived in alignment with principle. Every act of kindness, every gesture of support, every moment of quiet service builds strength invisible to the eye but undeniable in effect. The Shaolin path teaches that true greatness emerges when ego steps aside, when action serves the whole, and when the heart remains open. In this way, power becomes not a claim but a responsibility, and mastery becomes measured in the depth of contribution rather than the height of acclaim. Wisdom without practice is like water held in cupped hands. It slips away, leaving nothing behind. Spiritual insight becomes true power only when it touches daily life, shaping choices, thoughts, and actions. Shaolin masters taught that understanding alone is incomplete. Integration is where transformation occurs. Each day presents countless opportunities to bring awareness, discipline, and courage into every moment, no matter how small. A young disciple once spent years learning techniques of meditation, breath, and movement, yet his life remained unsettled. One day his master instructed him to apply these practices in ordinary tasks, walking, eating, speaking, and even facing discomfort. The disciple resisted at first, believing that true mastery existed only in structured practice. Slowly he began to notice subtle shifts, patience emerging in moments of frustration, clarity in decisions that once felt chaotic, and a calm presence that influenced those around him. Each small act of alignment, repeated daily, compounded over time, transforming not only his skills but his character. Integration requires attention and intention. It is the act of connecting inner knowledge with outer action, ensuring that discipline, mindfulness, and courage are not confined to meditation halls or sacred routines. Even a brief pause to breathe before responding, a conscious choice to act with honesty, or a mindful approach to a challenging task brings the teachings into life. Small, consistent alignment is the rhythm of mastery. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, months into years, and the effects are undeniable. The mind grows steady, the heart attuned, and the spirit resilient. Life itself becomes the training ground, each challenge an opportunity to refine the self, and each decision a reflection of inner clarity. Through daily alignment, the wisdom of the ancients is no longer abstract. It becomes living, flowing, and enduring, guiding the practitioner toward a life of purpose, balance, and quiet power. Pause for a moment and let these words settle. Life is not meant to be rushed or lived unconsciously. The path of mastery begins the instant you choose to stop, observe, and align with your higher calling. Presence, discipline, and service are not goals to reach. They are practices to weave into every day, guiding each thought, each action, each breath. As you move through your life, notice the small moments where awareness can transform routine into ritual, distraction into clarity, and habit into intentional action. Each choice made with care strengthens your mind, calms your heart, and sharpens your spirit. In doing so, you awaken the path that is uniquely yours, a path that carries the quiet power of the soul fully engaged. Remember, mastery is not about perfection or grand gestures. It is found in the subtle rhythm of daily life, in the courage to face your shadow, the patience to cultivate discipline, and the humility to serve beyond self. By living intentionally, you turn every ordinary moment into an opportunity for growth, insight, and alignment with your deepest purpose. Thank you for being present with this teaching today. May it inspire you to pause, reflect, and act with intention in the days ahead. If you feel called to continue walking this path, subscribe to our channel, Shaolin Soulfire, and join a community committed to wisdom, inner mastery, and quiet strength. Let each day be a step toward the life you were meant to live.